What we will be talking about today is the fundamentals of cardiovascular training. Now, this is going to be a series I'm going to be doing on the book, which I'll show you right now if I can just scroll back real quick, which is called the NASM Essentials of Personal Fitness Training. So a really good book into when you get into personal training. It's going to be required depending on like what qualification you do, and it's really useful even if you're not taking the actual test. If you are thinking of becoming a personal trainer, this would be, like the book says, the essential of what you should know, what you can work with your clients, yada yada. And so I'm just going to get into it step by step. However, for this time, we're going to start it off a little bit differently. And what I mean by that, I'm going to show you right now. We'll go over different topics every single day. We'll go over different questions or anything that we need to really stem in nice and easy and in detail, so that obviously when you do learn it yourself, you're able to understand it better if you do want to read the book. But now, if you'll excuse me, we'll go onto the proper section. So as you can see, there's loads of stuff in there. It's a huge book, massive. And we'll go on to the correct one. We're nearly there, guys. Just wait for us real quick. I'm actually going to scroll like this. Okay, 7. Yeah, so we're going to start it off from chapter number 8. I think this is the best way of understanding what's going to be in the book and getting practical from the get-go instead of doing the technical side. So the first topic we'll be talking about today is the cardiorespiratory fitness training. Now, this is one of the key aspects of what you're going to be training your clients on. Obviously, different clients have got different goals. Know this, it's not a solve for every single client. It's not a solution, for every single client. But just take it as it comes and let's try and learn from this. So the first thing we'll do is, when we're going over these chapters, I'm going to read the objectives. I'm going to read everything in the text right here. I'm going to zoom in as well in a second just so you can read it better. And once we've done that, once we feel comfortable, we'll go over everything else and then we'll digest everything we can so you're really understanding it. I'm going to zoom in here right now. I also might make some, annotations or something similar, just to really hone it in. But let's get started. So the objectives of today, after studying this chapter, you will be able to, number 1, define and describe the components associated with cardiorespiratory training, pretty self-evident. Describe how various physiological systems respond and adapt to cardiorespiratory training. So how the body responds, basically. Describe the health-related benefits, what's good about it with cardiorespiratory fitness. Describe the current guidelines and recommendations for prescribing safe and effective cardiorespiratory exercise to apparently healthy individuals. Essentially how you're going to do a program, example programs, etc. Describe how to design and implement cardiorespiratory training programs to a variety of clients using an individualized approach. So this is getting a little bit more personal. It's kind of like this one, just a little bit more honed in. And lastly, instruct clients on how to perform safe and effective cardiorespiratory exercise. So anything the client needs to know before that, yada yada. Okay, all right, now we're going to start to read. So, cardiorespiratory fitness reflects the ability of the circulatory and respiratory systems to supply oxygen-rich blood to skeletal muscles during sustained physical activity. So let me break this down. This is the first thing we'll look into right now. I'm going to annotate really quick, bear with me a second, I want to do it properly. So cardiorespiratory fitness. What this essentially means, we'll call it CF, cardiorespiratory fitness, and we'll annotate in here. So CF, what essentially this means is, like this says, the ability of 2 systems. One of them is the circulatory, and the second is the respiratory. So the first system that has to have the ability to perform the action is the circulatory. I'm going to write this down. Circulatory. So the circulatory system is one of them. The other is the respiratory. Sorry. Right. So these are two systems that will be needed to perform essentially cardiorespiratory fitness. Now, what do these actually mean is the question, because we can see that they're both systems, great. They both work together, also great. But what do they actually mean? Well, respiratory, we'll start it off with this one since I had my pen. Respiratory essentially means your breathing, okay? It's the ability to supply your body with oxygen and essentially make sure you don't die. So that is your breathing, respiratory, from respiring. Okay? Whereas your circulatory system, if you can actually guess, would have to be your blood, the pumping of your blood, let's call it that. So the circulation almost. So we'll say blood circulation. Okay? Blood and you can understand what that means. So if you look at it right here, these two, so breathing and blood circulation, the two systems responsible for each of these, come together and they almost work synergistically, so they both work and improve each other on top of what they've already got. And when they do this, notice what the text says. When they work together, they supply oxygen-rich blood to skeletal muscles during sustained physical activity. So essentially, they supply the blood with they supply the oxygen and the blood with the oxygen to our muscles. So when both of these systems are doing that, you're essentially getting the fitness of the cardiorespiratory system. And that's basically the rundown, okay? But we'll get into it into more detail. So I'm going to delete this right now. It helps if you take like a screenshot or just watch this later on once you've took a note or something like that, just to really recap it yourself. But yeah, we'll move on. Cardiorespiratory fitness is one of the 5 components to health-related physical fitness. The others include muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. So there's a couple of key factors here which make up the health-related physical fitness. What I mean by this is to have good health, okay, you need to have and we won't do a lot of annotations here, don't worry, but yeah, we first need to have our cardiorespiratory fitness, aka our cardio, one of them. The second one we need to look at is the muscular strength, how strong we are, the muscular endurance, how long we can go for, flexibility, whether or not we're able to fully extend our muscles, pretty self-evident. And then lastly, body composition, how much fat percentage do we have, how much muscle, how much water do we keep, anything that can change based on like how much you train. So those are the 5 factors. And what we're talking about, like we said, is one of those. Okay, there's 5, remember, and we're talking about the first one. All right. So cardiorespiratory fitness is vitally important to health and wellness, as well as the ability to engage in normal activities of daily living, ADLs, without excessive fatigue. Okay. Physical activity and exercise training programs should be designed with the intent of improving each of the key components of health-related physical fitness. However, from the standpoint of preventing chronic disease and improving health and quality of life, cardiorespiratory fitness training should always be a top priority when allocating time and resources during the design and implementation of any exercise training program, because of the number of health-related benefits associated with it. Essentially means if you're looking to have a good life, if you're looking to have a healthy life, look into cardio. Focus this with your clients. If you're starting out and they just want to stay healthy, they just want to lose a bit of weight, keep them onto cardio, right? Unless they're trying to actively build muscle on top of that, or even just as its own focus, then you would move on to maybe one of these, which was, for example, muscular endurance or muscular strength. But remember, cardio is key. Cardio is key to a healthy life. Remember that. Okay. So yeah, if we'll just recap real quick, cardiorespiratory fitness, 2 systems that come together, one of them being the circulatory, the other one being the respiratory. boom, they supply the oxygen blood to the muscles, you're able to move. There's 5 systems, remember, to the health and wellness of the body of a person, whatever. One of them is the cardio. It's the most important one if you're just starting out and you're just trying to get your clients to live a healthy life and they're not necessarily looking to build muscle. But now let's talk, and now we'll go to the second page, and let's talk about, kind of similar but still a bit different, integrated cardiorespiratory training, not the fitness aspect. Integrated cardiorespiratory training is a way of planning training programs that systematically progress clients through various stages to achieve optimal levels of physical and performance adaptations by placing stress on the cardiorespiratory system. Essentially means when you're training your client, you're doing integrated cardiorespiratory training. Perfect. One of the most common errors made by personal trainers during the planning and implementation of cardiorespiratory exercise programs, this is important, is the failure to consider rate of progression. We'll just jot this down. We'll highlight it real quick. This rate of progression. Now, what does it mean? Well, rate of progression is critical to helping clients achieve their personal health and fitness goals in the most efficient and effective use of time and energy. So when you're first starting out with a client, you need to know what the levels are. You need to know how the health is, whether or not they're eating right. A lot of factors that change how your training with them is going to go. What this essentially is boiled down to in terms of like something you can write down on paper is this called rate of progression. So I'll give you an example. If you've got client number 1, let me write this down. So let's say we have client number 1. Okay, there you go, all happy. He knows what he's doing, right? He's done a bit of training before for like a good year or something. He's gotten into running, he's lost a ton of weight, and now he's looking to build a bit of muscle. Okay, so he wants to build muscle and is experienced, we can say, not with muscle necessarily, but the running and the losing weight aspect. He's seen it before, so experience. Okay, and then let's say we also have maybe a client who isn't like that. Okay, they're just starting out, they don't know what to do, they're unmotivated, they don't really have a clue what they're talking about or doing, and they maybe just want to like build muscle still, right? They're not too bad body fat, they're just really unmotivated, skinny, let's say, and they also want to build muscle. But the difference is, which you can already tell, they are unexperienced. So they don't have any experience, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay. Even though client number 1 actually doesn't essentially have that muscle experience that we were talking about, he still has the conditioning that is required for even just running, cardiovascular training, which we said is the most important thing. And so when essentially he has that, he's able to progress a lot faster when you're building muscle. Okay, the body has gone through that stress before, the muscle has been broken down, even in tiny fractions when you run, his legs would have been built up. So essentially he's already built some muscle without even knowing it. And so for client number 1, well, when we're starting a training program, he's going to be fine. He doesn't even care. He's able to push himself. However, when we're now talking about client number 2, oh no, he might have a bit of problems if we're doing the same program with this, with client number 1. So what should we do then? Well, and remember, these are color-coded. For client number 1, for example, obviously he's had a bit of experience with that. Like we said, he's pushed himself. He's had that mental conditioning as well, probably. He's more motivated. Well, we would do a package for him. We would be able to push him. We would be able to set targets that not everyone could do at his level. And we'll be able to keep him moving. We'll be able to just keep things going at a steady rate. Whereas, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but whereas for client number 2, who doesn't have as much experience, well, no worries. We will do a program Consider these like the programs, the boxes of the programs. We'll be able to do a program that incorporates more, warm up time, more cool down time, things that are going to be able to kind of like get your client comfortable and really kind of like hone it in. That you're just getting started, you don't need to like worry about anything else. And that is the rate of progression. Well, let's move on to something else. So let's read it again. Rate of progression is critical to helping clients achieve their personal health and fitness goals in the most efficient and effective use of time and energy. In addition, failure to carefully consider and monitor a rate of progression of each client on an individual basis can also result in injury if progression is too fast or in poor exercise adherence if progression is too slow. Again, know your client. Thus, applying the principles of the OPT model to the design of cardiorespiratory fitness training programs will help ensure that clients maximize their potential to achieve optimal levels of physiological, physical, and performance adaptations. Now, you may have like noticed that we went over this when we read it just then, the OPT model. Now, don't pay too much attention to this because this is its own little thing. It's not too complicated, but like I don't want to get into it now. But essentially, it means build the blocks first, build the foundation first when you're starting and you're training your clients, and don't overthink it. Just stick to the plan and keep track of what your clients are doing. Again, with their own little rates of progression. So that is essentially what it means. We already know this one then. Okay. So now let's talk about the benefits. Let's read the benefits of what it actually does. And this is also useful, like, not only for yourself to know, because I assume you're already staying in shape, but if you're just starting out or if your client is actually just starting out, and if you're just needing to tell them like what it can do for them training, cardiorespiratory training more to be precise, so that they know, and then it's good for them to know, But yeah, the benefits of regular physical activity and exercise are numerous. Individuals can achieve numerous health-related benefits from modest amounts of moderate intensity exercise, and even greater benefits from vigorous intensity exercise, or a combination of both. Enabling and regular sustained physical activity over the lifespan is one of the most reliable predictors of death and disability. In fact, research has confirmed that an individual's cardiorespiratory fitness level is one of the strongest predictors of morbidity and mortality. Wow. In other words, poor respiratory fitness is related to a marked increase in risk of premature death from all causes, but particularly from cardiovascular disease. Conversely, an improvement in cardiorespiratory fitness is related to a reduction in premature death from all causes. Do you see that? So do you see how many things we can point out right here, only to, not even to us, but to our clients as well? Let me show you real quick. So the benefits, right, of regular physical activity are numerous, we said. One of those, and keep this in mind, the benefits you can get even from modest amounts. So you don't necessarily need to run marathons every day. You can literally just go on a walk. You can just get yourself moving and that'll be enough. You don't need to like kill yourself. But even like a combination of both, if you're not happy, if you're bored from just like doing your daily walk or something, switch it up, add a bit of intensity to it. Even with your clients, even if you're just yourself, you're trying to do it. But yeah, if you do that, then the benefits which we'll talk about now is a good predictor. Will basically, let me just recap. The benefits of this will be lowered rate of death, lowered rate of cardiovascular disease, which we said in here. So yeah, here's the death. Here's the cardiovascular disease. Here's the death, and this all lowers. You're building the heart. Your heart is a muscle at the end of the day. So you're building on that. You're improving it. Everything else is going down. Every single risk, if not most of them, if not every single risk, will go down. And like I said, there's so many benefits even to the lower levels. So just keep that in mind when you explain to your customers and your clients. And then let's move on to the training. Right, so far what have we done? We've talked about why it's good. We've talked about what it prevents, what it helps with. We've also gone through the basics first before we've done that. So obviously what it means, and how you can use it to train your clients. We talked about the rate of progression, the 2 different examples. But now let's actually get a little bit into detail. This is when we're going to get into detail now, because it's good to know the foundation, I guess, and like the surface level almost. But then when you're getting into the actual program that you'll be doing for your clients, well, you need experience and you need like something to work with. So this is really good. Just have a look at this right now. Let's go through it. So, cardiorespiratory fitness training. Exercise training programs should be designed to meet the specific needs and goals of the individual client. Furthermore, the initial exercise prescription should reflect A, the initial fitness level of the client, B, fitness assessment results, and C, whether the client has any significant risk factors or health limitations to exercise. Right, so to really just jot down something in here real quick. So obviously you know your level. Obviously you'll have like an interview with your client, a PARQ we want to call it, whether or not they have any health issues, yada yada, how much have they done before, and this is how you find out the level. But then you can also do something that we like to call a fitness assessment. There's many ways to doing this. We won't go too much into detail, but one of them, just off the top of my head, if I had a client who just started out, I would put them on a bike test. Now, what is a bike test? A bike test is a timed event or a distance. It can be both. It can be time, it can be distance, it can be whatever. So one of them, for example, could be how many miles in, I don't know, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a standard time, so we'll keep that. So how many miles in 3 minutes can your client do, right? We're trying to push them. We're not trying to kill them. We're just trying to find out how fit they are. So one of them could be how many miles can you do in 3 minutes? Push them, get them moving, get the heart rate going. They'll feel like they're getting something out of it, and that could be one of them. Another thing that you could do, still in the bike, how fast, for example. Yeah. So how fast can they run 1 mile? And again, 1 mile, 3 minutes, standard time, unit of measure. So yeah, how fast can they do 1 mile? That's another question, right? 2 different ways. You could even give this option to your client. You could say, hey, listen, I know you're just starting out, and I'm just trying to find out like where you are right now. We'll look into everything you've put down on the PARQ as well. So why don't you choose? It's up to you. Do you want to do however many miles in the 3 minutes, the time frame, or do you want to do 1 mile and see how fast you can do it? See if you can improve that time later on, all the miles. It's up to them. But yeah, it's important you do the fitness assessment through other ways as well, but we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, keep that in mind and see whether the client has any significant risk factors or health limitations to exercise. Essentially what you'll find out in the PARQ. 2 birds, 1 stone. Now, it says each exercise training session should also include the following phases. Warm-up phase is the first one. Cool-down phase, it says the second. And then, conditioning, the second. And then cool-down phase will be the third. Okay. 3 different phases, 3 different ideas in how we can move about it. Now, we will go into this, but I just wanted to start this off as a little bit of a test, figure out if it comes out good, the whole video and the whole series that we're doing right now. We will get into the different phases, just in a different part in the next video that I'll put down. We'll go over some of the details, how we can improve it for each client. I'll give you some more examples, and maybe we'll even go over the fitness assessment, because I feel like I could put something else for you to use as well. But yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time as well.